my Oga is sitting over there, and I want the contract again. Oga, no joke, I do.
I think Oga's had though.
But you know the cool thing about Coke is it's very collaborative. So as much as there's creatives working on it, there's the brand as well. And one of the things that my Oga there, Andrew, has actually helped me understand quite a lot, because as a creative, and I'm sure anyone in this room who plays in this space as a creative, you're very protective over your work, and you can be very defensive over your work. And I think one of the things that Andrew has also helped me see is it's okay. If you make a mistake, the first thing is raise your hand. Because you always want to be, especially when you're like leading a team or whatever, you always want, if there's a mistake, you learn how to BS your way through things, right? So you're kind of like, no, that was always our plan to make sure, But the first thing is, if there's a mistake, raise your hand. And immediately, the person who has called you out for your mistake will respect you straight away. And be like, the fact that you're admitting you made a mistake, it's all good, let's fix it, you know? And then you can collaborate to fix it. Whereas if you try and BS your way through it, you're left on your own to try and fix it and act like it didn't happen, and it's a lot of pressure. So I think the first thing when it comes to mistakes is own your mistake.
Is that what happened in Nigeria?
It wasn't my mistake.
Oh, it wasn't?
My mistake was hiring the wrong person.
Right.
Okay, so I'll raise my hand. My mistake was to hire someone who wasn't adequately qualified to handle the job I was giving him. At the same time, this is where the humanity came out, where I was trying to give a guy a shot, right? So you've got to balance both. But I guess I chose the guy to give a shot with too much responsibility at the time. There was also the reality of sometimes you don't have a brilliant line producer on your team, and you kind of, and I'm sure everyone in this room will relate, you have to do everything. You're choosing the crew, you're balancing the budget,
Sure.
You're doing everything. It was one of those productions. And we were covering the This Day Festival in Nigeria, which used to be this big music festival. This was in 2009. And Jay-Z and Beyonce were headlining the festival, along with Busta Rhymes. Like, it was amazing. Snoop Dogg. There was a lot of artists, all sharing the stage with D'banj, Two-Face, Femi Kuti. You know, so it was like, no, not Femi, Sheung, the younger brother. So it was like this amazing concert. And we got the opportunity to interview Jay-Z and Beyonce the first time they were in Africa together. So while Andrew Oga there is so proud of himself that he was at the Global Citizens Festival in Johannesburg, he literally has people just clutching to touch his shirt that he was wearing that day because he was in the same stadium as Beyonce. We were in a hotel room with B, you know, so I call her B, you know, me and B are cool. And, you know, with Jigga, you know. Anyway, so we did this interview, and it was like, really, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you know? And it was exclusive. Like, no one else had got that interview except us, you know? And we got back to South Africa, and in those days, it wasn't digital content. We shot on, well, it was slightly digital. We were talking about it the other day. It was Digibeta. So it was shot on a Digibeta camera, so it's still a tape. So you couldn't really play back. I mean, you could on the camera, but then you risk getting dropout on the tape and all kind of nonsense. So you didn't used to really watch your footage until you got into the edit suite. And when we got into the edit suite to now put the content in and digitize it, we were listening, and you know that feeling when you just like, oh, like you lose life. You know, you just go cold, and I'm like watching it, and there's just the sound like,
Oh my God.
and you can see Beyonce.
Oh. Oh. I think the whole room is feeling pain on your behalf right now. Yeah.
And then you start trying to convince yourself, no, it's obviously just the one channel, because now there are two channels, you know? So you're like, no, it's just the one channel, the other channel's it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine. And eventually, as you go through each checkpoint, you realize this is the reality.
Oh, man.
The way to deal with it really was to cry.
It's a good first step.
Yeah, you know, let the emotion come, you know, just deal with it like that, let it out.
Yeah.
Then find the culprit, let it out some more. Needless to say, I've never worked with that guy again. I don't even know where he is in life, I don't care. But we had to look there. I think another lesson, and especially then even when I was at MTV and you're managing, you know, big departments and whatever, there must be consequence as well. There must be. As much as you want to be cool and you want people to not feel, but I don't think people learn, including myself. I want there to be consequence if I mean, because you don't really learn if you get away with it. There has to be some kind of consequence. So
True.
we had to deal with him. Kneecaps were broken. No, there was financial penalty for him.
Oh, wow.
So we chose to not pay him.
FYI, it's not me, eh?
It then actually came out. Then he actually got his mother to phone us, and his mother was in hospital, and he was paying for his mother's hospital bills. And, it was a really sad story. So we did eventually land up giving him some money towards that. But as a matter of principle, we couldn't pay him his full rate. It just wasn't going to happen.
Is this content anywhere on YouTube? I'd love to pull it up during the breaks. No? Okay. Very quickly, I'll give everyone a minute just to comment about this very same issue. What do you do when the proverbial hits the fan? What have you found is the best way to get past that and still empower everyone to do their jobs? Go ahead.
That was a rookie mistake.
Oh.
Putting someone that you've never tried and used before, that hasn't been tested, that you haven't vetoed, on a shoot of that nature, rookie mistake. First one. On the second count, back your backup into your backup. Okay? You back your backup into the backup. Okay? So when you're dealing with the nature, with the magnitude of the shoot you're doing now, you don't go one place only. I think in our post-production and in our media management budget, there is more money allocated to back up what we're doing than to have our primary drive allocation in terms of money and budget.
Okay.
So when it comes to you executing anything technically in this industry, always have a backup. My backup in that instance would have been, okay, as much as I've got mics on them and I can see my mics and I'm seeing the levels, I'm just, for encasement, I'm going to switch the camera mic on the other channel. So that while he was crying in the edit, and he went, hold on, maybe there's something on the other channel, there might have been just the ambient microphone on the other channel. It wouldn't have sounded as good, but
Sounded better than...
it would have sounded better than that. So I think it's kind of experience-based as well. And no one's going to, it's not in a textbook. No one's going to tell you what I'm telling you now. And it's going to come from you having made mistakes.
True.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
You sometimes pay for it. I call it school fees. It's like sometimes you have to pay for shit that makes you learn. And it's like he paid his school fees that day. He paid.
He's a different man today. I see it.
But
It never happened again, bro. That's the other thing. Don't let it happen again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, it's all about backups as well. We generate on a weekly basis on Coke Studio 6 terabytes of footage. That's a lot. That's equivalent to 150 HD movies per day.
Oh, wow.
That's
Per
a
day.
lot.
Yeah. Okay.
We have not lost a frame of footage to date
This year.
this year that we know of.
Tim just had to throw that caveat in there, that disclaimer. Right. Okay.
And it all comes from planning.
Okay. Arthur, real quick.
Yo, listen, I just want to advise, because this is something I've had to learn working with high-leveled and empowered productions and companies. When a mistake happens, and especially for us Kenyans, stop looking into who did it. The problem with Kenyans is, and especially what I've learned as Arthur, and I'm saying this because this I've learned from working with these guys, is we are so quick into asking who did it, because you want to know, is it so and so, is it so and so? Be quick to find out what went wrong and not who did it. And then before you spark or you get emotional on anything, after you find out who did it, immediately engage your mind into how to solve it. How do we solve it? After you've solved it, go emotional. You understand? Like now, scream, shout, cry, but you figured out what went wrong, you've solved it, now go emotional. Because already it's done, the mess has been done, you've corrected it, so you have the leeway to go like, really? Why the fuck did that happen? You get? So go emotional. That's my principle. I have had to learn that from the experience that I've had on Coke Studio and MTV. After you've solved it, you can go emotional for some time.
But while the crisis is on, you've
Oh,
got to solve it.
yeah, but don't go emotional until you solve it. Because if you go emotional before you solve it, trust me, you will make the mistake worse. You will the mistake that had happened will only continue, will only multiply. Okay.
Wonderful.
So that's what I would advise.
Caroline, if there's one person who would be the cleaner here, or the person that has to deal with mistakes on the biggest level, I think it would be yours, because there's monetary implications and all that. So I'd love to know your point of view about this.
Okay, there's always cost implications
That's
for
right.
such things. So I think for producers in the beginning, you always have, for every department, there's always a plan A, B, C, D, E, F to Z. So when you're sitting down with the HODs in every department, as they lay out their plan on how they're going to execute on the project, you'll always ask them, okay, so what will happen when this person doesn't show up? What backup plan do you have? So if it was Arthur, I would be like, so Arthur works with Team. Team does this pairing list of which artists are supposed to come which week and why they're working together. But he has a backup plan of if this artist doesn't show up or doesn't agree to our money, what are we going to do? So for us, at the back of my mind as a producer, I have to have money for the backup plans because there's always one way you're going to lose money because you were banking on this option to come through, then it doesn't come through. So the thing is, there's the backup plans and allow money for that, and then there's always the insurance. I know in Kenya we still don't have that product to cover production completely, but that is something we'd love to have. And I also know there's an incident that happened. I was doing a commercial for a client, and the drive was supposed to, this is just one of those because we didn't have those post facilities here at the time. The drive was supposed to have been couriered to Dubai. So I had communicated with my assistant to make sure the drive was out, but the drive wasn't out. And so the day for the viewing was upon us, and the client was like, okay, where's the footage that we are supposed to view? And only to be told at that time that she had not sent the drive. So what happened is we had to put someone on a flight to go to Dubai and deliver the drive and have the people work. Of course, they were going to charge me more because they had to put more people on it, on the job. So I guess for us, we know that this happens. We don't encourage it to happen because the money has to come from somewhere and the client is not giving you a penny more if it's something that you could have avoided. Like Arthur says, we don't get emotional. At that point is, okay, so where's the drive? Do you have a passport? Can you get on a plane? Talk to the airline, what's the next flight out? That's how we deal with it. And then afterwards, then we say, okay, so this is how you should have. Before, I wasn't as calm when I was addressing the person, but I've come to learn that, okay, next time when you have been asked to do something, the moment you know you're not going to do it, you have to let your superior know. Don't sit with the information assuming that we are going to figure it out. Yeah. So.
You seem to have a lot of experience in this.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So it's about communication, and you just encourage your team to constantly communicate with you, and that when they can't get something done, please just raise your hand and say, you asked me to do this, but I'm having a challenge, and can I get help? Yes, and then that is how you actually also try to mitigate these problems or these mistakes, because everybody knows that when I'm drowning, I can actually raise my hand and get help. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Caroline. Wesley.
Cool. So the truth is, what happened to Tim could still happen even though he would have worked with some of the best camera persons, some of the best audio people in the world. We work with some of the best, like multi-award winning, Emmy winning DOPs. But I have to be a nuisance and go, listen, I need to see my shot. And I need to listen back to the audio. Doesn't matter who they are. And that's like the first lesson, because if I don't deliver on that level, then I didn't do my job, you know? Yeah. That's one. The kind of mistakes I deal with is, say Coke Studio, you work with massive, like high profile artists. I have to do an interview for an episode of 45 minutes. I need him at least for an hour to do an interview to fill the episode. But they rock up and they say, no, we only have 6 minutes for you. And you have to be able to spontaneously find ways to multiply the sound bites, of ask him questions or do interviews that will feed the entire episode. And that's something Tim was saying earlier about like being spontaneous, because these things happen and things change all of a sudden on Coke Studio or any other show, you know. So just always have the quick plan out, basically, in content. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wesley. I'm sure we've learned a lot from this so far. Are we feeling that we're getting something out of this? Yes, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. It is now 4:25. Please, let's be back in our seats at 4:35, all right? Please enjoy a beverage, enjoy some of the bitings that have been placed for you. I will be summoning you back.
You cannot hear
Meanwhile,
me.
for those of us who are watching on
How
online,
you
thank you so much for joining us.
Check 1, 2.
Charlie,
My sound
over
is
to
off.
you.
My sound is off.
That's for you also.
We'll see you soon. We'll be right back.
Hello,
All right,
hello.
guys, let's take that 10-minute break and I'll call you back. Thank you so much. And thank you to the panelists so far. I'm enjoying this. Thank you.
Check 1, 2. Can you guys hear me? This is Charlie Karomi. Can you guys hear me? This is Charlie Karomi. 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 This and this is the Sankara Nairobi for the Coke Studio Africa 2019 Master Class, and we have the heads. Check 1, 2. Hi, and we are still here at the Sankara in Nairobi for the Coke Studio Africa 2019 Masterclass. You're with me, Charlie Karomi, and what a session we have had today. We on stage at the panel, we had Tim Horwood, we had Eugene Naidu. Let me tell you who was on stage. Tim Horwood is the Executive Creative Director for Coke Studio Africa. We have Eugene Naidu, who is the Coke Studio Africa Technical Series Director. He was also on stage. We had Arthur K. Map, aka Mopao. They call him Mopao because he's the guru, the maestro. He's the talent manager at Coke Studio Africa. We also have Madam Caroline Ngesa. She is the line producer at Coke Studio Africa. What's happening behind me? She is the Coke Studio Africa line producer. We also had Wesley Masilo Makamata. He is the content director and producer at Coke Studio Africa. So all of these people, all of these industry professionals, the head honchos at Coke Studio Africa 2019 have been on stage today just discussing things with the panel that they had on stage, with the moderator, that is Mugambi Nthiga, just taking questions, explaining what goes into creating such a massive project like Coke Studio Africa. And we've had people in the audience. We have celebs, we have presenters, we have music producers, we have photographers, everyone who's included in this whole creative process. Because as we told you, Coke Studio Africa 2019 is not just about the musicians and the music producers. We have this entire ecosystem that brings you this amazing production on camera, and they were here today, and one of them is actually invading my shot right now. Bwana Emmanuel Jambo, you're actually supposed to be after Mbisa Martin, but I think, Martin, do you want to fight him for the spot? Okay, he's eating. So one of the guests here today, one of our distinguished guests here today is Bwana Martin Kimathi. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, bro.
Good. Looking fresh, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Do you want to shout? Do you think I can pull off that look?
Definitely, bro. You're looking good as well.
Yeah.
African
You gotta rep Africa. As Wesley said, we have to be unapologetically African.
Exactly, motherland all the way. Yeah.
Maybe explain to the people watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, what do you do exactly? What's your CV like? Hebu tuambie, what does your business card look like?
Nianze wapi? Okay, I'm Martin Kimathi. I'm a media personality. I work for one of the biggest media stations that we have in East Africa. I don't know if I can drop the name, NTV, Wagwan. You know, I host a show called Twin Republic. It's more about entertainment, engaging with the youth. I'm also an MC. I'm an entertainer in general, and I love fashion as well.
Okay, clearly it shows. So basically you're Mr. Entertainment, just whatever you can do to get in front of people, to get in front of a camera, to entertain, that's what you do. Exactly. And you're here at the Coke Studio Africa 2019 Masterclass. What's some of the things that, have you picked up anything useful that you'll use on Teen Republic, on your MCing gigs? Or maybe generally in life, because they're teaching us life skills as well. What's one thing that you've picked up?
Man, there's so much, but especially listening to Tim, where he lost footage of interviewing Jay-Z and Beyonce, and then you lose that footage. You know, it just shows you like anything can happen, no matter how good you are, no matter how much of a guru you are in the industry. Mistakes do happen, and it's just how you pick up and move forward. So I think that was like my biggest highlight. Because if it was me losing footage after having the biggest interview of my life, Jay-Z and Beyonce, I don't know, I'll just throw myself over a cliff somewhere. Like, never again. I just, like, I'm done.
What Martin is talking about, if you're just tuning in, Tim Howard, who is on stage right now, he explained a situation where he had Jay-Z and Beyonce both on an interview, and then they lost all their sound. They had no sound. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, yes?
I was like, what?
Oh my
I
God.
felt it. I felt his pain.
Felt it. Yeah. Okay. But we're still carrying on. Do you have any questions that you want to ask them?
Yeah. So basically for me, I just want to know how can we pick up, you know, like especially in our country, in Kenya, you know, you find West Africa, Southern Africa are kind of ahead. Yeah. You understand? So I just want to know, because there's crazy talent here. Yeah. So what is it that we're doing wrong? So I think that's...
And what we can improve on to catch up.
Basically, like what do we need to do to elevate to, you know, to that status?
So I know there's some cold Coca-Cola in there for you, and you, dude, you look thirsty. You look thirsty.
yeah. I can use some Coke.
Thank you so much, Brother Martin. I'll see you inside. Cheers. That is one of our star guests here at Coke Studio Africa, the Masterclass 2019. And remember, it is brought to you by Coke, of course. We have Sankara Nairobi. We have Pace, who are providing the audio solutions, and of course, we have, who else do we have? Okay, stop, Emmanuel, I'm getting you on stage. He's just looking at me with really, okay, Bwana Emmanuel, come through. And I am joined here with the man himself, the guy who's taller and darker than I am. Clearly, you're just giving me...
I'm more handsome, huh?
Are you sure?
Handsome, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Are you 100% sure?
You want to count the women?
Yeah.
You want to ask?
No, I do not.
You want to go live and ask?
No, I do not. Let's not. No, not now. Maybe later. So this is Emmanuel Jambo, world-traveled, world-renowned photographer. Have I represented you correctly in that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe tell people about, if I want to say your highlights, you were the State House's official photographer for a while.
The president official photographer, yeah.
Did you move, because I hear maybe the money wasn't enough with the president, you moved on to bigger...
I had to move up to Obama, you know what I'm saying?
But you're here at the Coke Studio 2019 Masterclass. A man of your experience, of your talent, is there anything that you are learning, that stuff that you've never heard before?
Yeah, the thing was a good course. I mean, it's a good refreshing class that there's some mistakes have been made, and I made those same mistakes that, you know, a couple of times, or once actually, you know, happened that we lost footage. And like Eugene said, you know, you have to back up the backup, you know. And ever since, I've always been anal about backing up. And what Tim said, same about going in and not having sound bites, you know. So it's good to be among creative and seeing how we can better the film and the music industry. in Africa. Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to ask you, Arthur K, he's our talent manager for Coke Studio Africa 2019. He handles a lot of celebrities, and he's talked a little bit about handling all of these people who need something. Like when an artist goes on Coke Studio, they need something in terms of publicity, in terms of the tools that they're working with. But you've also worked with very big names. You've taken photos with the President of the Republic of Kenya. What is it like for you, for Emmanuel Zambo, handling celebrities and popular people?
I exactly feel what Arthur said. It's you know, sometimes you gotta deal with artists or celebrities or statements with bigger ego and protocol and blah. But you gotta, you gotta give them what they want, and you take what you need, and it's just, it's give and take. Yeah, it's give and take. Yeah, you just have to know how to approach them. Yeah.
And then before I let you go, Coke Studio Africa, we have a host of artists from about 6, 7, 8, 10 countries in Kenya. Who would you love to take photos of? Who is there one person in particular, one particular African artist? They might be Africa 2019, maybe they are not. One African artist that you would love to do a photo shoot with?
I would love if they would have somebody like Youssou N'Dour. Yeah, yes. Definitely. I had a chance to work with Salif Keita. But join me. And who do we have on camera today?
So you have Sisi Sagini on camera today, and I'm excited to be here.
And who is Sisi Sagini apart from this stylish individual with super style? Who are you apart from? Tell me about the music, tell me about the art, tell me about the videos, tell me everything.
Okay, so besides this stylish person that you're seeing, Sisi is an artist, I'm a singer-songwriter. Yes. Can be the worst thing to actually do, especially if things go off or mistakes happen. Yeah. How about solve it? So that's something that they actually mentioned inside there. Solve it first, have it already resolved, and then now you can have who did wrong, what happened wrong, okay, who are we firing? So that was interesting.
Okay. So yeah, I heard that. Like, if a problem happens, deal with it, and then emotions and everything, let it out later.
Come later, yes, yes, that was the deal.
So you have a repertoire of amazing music. What's one song that you would want to see the artist at Coke Studio Africa remixing? And who do you want to see remix? Wow. Yes, I asked that question.
Let me think about this now. I'm so Kenyan based, so I'll take it to a Kenyan artist, a Kenyan song, and I'd pull Nyashinsky. I'd pull Nyashinsky, one of Nyashinsky's songs. Let me see, what's the latest? Let me see, Free. Hey.
Okay, no, you've answered a very good question, but a different one. So, if you were on Coke Studio Africa, you would remix Free. But which of your songs do you want a Coke? No, do you want them? Do you want Calligraph to remix? Yes.
Okay, Amadua. I have a song with Dr. Pizzo that's called Amadua. So I'd want people to redo that one just to see how it'll actually work out.
You don't think your friend Dr. Pizzo will be mad at you getting Kali to do a remix?
Yeah. Let's just see how it works out. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I know there are bitings in there, and there's some cold Coca-Cola. Grab some of that and I'll see you inside. Sawa? Thank you so much, Sisi. And with me on stage now is master producer, the man himself, Bwana Phil. How you doing, Phil?
I am good.
You're good?
Yeah, the last time we were together, you didn't have a shirt on. That was crazy.
Let me explain. I did a cameo on Phil's show, Suna Johnny, and they had me shirtless because I'm just a very beautiful human being. You are lucky. You know, my manager called me and he's like, my publicist has told my manager that our publicist internationally was, but how are you doing, sir?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. How's the show going?
Show is good. Show is going great. Yeah.
Okay. Now let me ask you about. You're one of the people that that have been invited here because this was like a sort of invite-only event for industry professionals. What is it that you're learning that you can take from the world of music? Because Coke Studio Africa and the production that goes behind it it's not just about the music, but it's about all the production, all the various bits of industry that go into making this possible. What's one thing that you've learned both from the masterclass and from watching Coke Studio Africa as a production in itself?
Preparation, that's the one thing that stands out for me from Coke Studio. In terms of production, everything is the same. Whether you're doing music, for me it could be drama, for them it's music, but production is production. So the one thing I take home from this is how seriously they take preparation. Pre-production. That's my one take home from all of this. Yeah.
And do you do a lot of pre-production on Suna Johnny?
I thought I used to. I do a lot of pre-production, but theirs is on another level.
It's on another level.
Yes,
okay.
Like they're very specific. Like you might call it spontaneity, but for them, they even script the spontaneous answers that they expect. So, that's crazy.
Scripted spontaneity.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe, because the session, we're just taking a little break, we'll jump back in very, very soon. What's one question that you would want to ask one of the experts on stage?
How are they dealing with the financial challenges? Because traditional TV is breaking, so so corporates are not paying as much as they used to. Money is not flowing as it used to. And then with the whole online thing, so how are they dealing with that in their different industries, in their different capabilities? How are they keeping afloat?
Okay. But because I believe it's Tim who said that, who talked about branded content, and that's where the entire world is going. Exactly. Because your show right now is on a paid for TV platform, because really the magnitude that you take your production can't really be supported by a free-to-air. So are you seeing that? Are you going to employ some of that advice in terms of branding content for your content?
Definitely. Although now, when it does come to branded content and it's on a platform, there's a lot of
a lot of people to please.
There are a lot of people to please, but I love the whole online community that's opening up. So that gives us a new leeway to go into.
Okay. We have superstars from all over Africa in Nairobi right now shooting for Coke Studio Africa 2019. You've had a lot of superstar cameos on your show, Suna Johnny. I think you had Calligraph Jones the other day.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Who among the other artists would you want to have on your show for a cameo?
Suna Johnny being a dramedy, it will have to be a superstar who can act. So that's the first. They could be good musicians, but they're not good actors. Yeah. So at the end of the day, when they're on that show, whichever cameo they're playing, they just naturally have to be good actors.
Okay. Was Calligraph a good actor?
Very, very. Actually, I think the whole Calligraph thing is an act. He's a very chilled out guy, very humble.
Okay, so. But thank you so much, Phil. I know there are bitings, and I could go eat something. We have to maintain. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. That was Phil, and to my left is the beautiful, the amazing, making us all look like we are underdressed, PR guru herself, Anyiko. How are you doing, Anyiko?
I'm doing well.
Hello. You look amazing. Do you want to tell us about your outfit?
Well, I don't even know where this outfit is from, because I just called Brian Babu, who's the stylist at Coke Studio Africa, one of the stylists. I work there, and I'm lucky to meet this type of people. So I just called him, and I needed an outfit, and he got me this.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Coke Studio Africa, we work with seasoned professionals, But how's the event going? This is your baby, isn't it? Okay, it's you and other people's babies. You're a lot of parents, but this event, because I could see you guys before the event, you are running around trying to make sure everything is perfect, and you're in charge of PR for Coke Studio Africa. How's that going? How is it handling all these names and superstars? Are you getting a lot of selfies?
Yes, I love to take my selfies with superstars, and I would say that the PR of Coke Studio is my baby, because I'm the publicist of Coke Studio Africa, and I have been for the past 3 years, since 2015.
Shout out to you.
And I love it. It's amazing. I love arts and culture. I love artists. I love music, and I think I found a platform that is doing it for the culture. It's a lot of cultural exchange, and there are a lot of passion points that are inside of culture. So there's music which everybody sees and knows, but there's some that are indirect, like the food, there's the trends, there's the dance, there's the language. You meet a lot of artists who are not from your region, who are speaking other languages, and you start to communicate with them, and you feel like you've been to all these countries. I've been to Mozambique, I've been to Ethiopia, I've been to Zambia, Zimbabwe, through the platform, but I've never been there physically. But if you ask me what's happening there, I know.
You know. But that's one thing, because as publicists for Coke Studio Africa, you have to appeal to all of the countries, not just the countries where we draw artists, but from the countries that watch, and we're all over sub-Saharan Africa. So let me ask you, how do you connect with all those audiences?
Geez, it's a challenge, and it's a beautiful and lovely challenge, because you have to discover a lot. And previously, in the previous season, actually our theme was to discover, and every year we have a different theme. So this theme this year is like celebration of, culture, finding pride in music and your favorite artist and your area code, and also being unapologetically African. So through, so I have to discover a lot, like different, media and people from different regions.
And I'm being told by my director that we need to go back inside, but unapologetically African is our theme today, and we're going back into studio with Mugambi for the rest of Coke Studio Africa 2019 Master Class.
Stream of the Coke Studio Africa Masterclass. Once again, if you want to know, first of all, welcome to everyone in the room. Welcome back. We've had an amazing session so far. If you want to know how you can engage with us further, our hashtag is Coke Studio Africa. You can find us on Twitter at Coca-Cola Africa and on Snapchat as well. And you can find us on Coke Studio Africa on Instagram and YouTube. As you're aware, we're now live on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and we just want to say a warm welcome. Arthur, welcome back, Arthur, as well. Talent had to show up right on time. Okay, before we go into the question and answer segment, I just want to invite those who are watching us and catching us live. If you have been listening to the conversation so far and you want to have and you want to present a question to one of our panelists on stage, please feel free to do it right there on the live platform. We will acknowledge you by name and we'll ask the question to the panel. Please, for the people in the room, please have your questions ready as well. And before we get into that, I want to welcome to speak to us very, very briefly someone who's instrumental in the whole creative process behind Coke Studio Africa. She's the official person behind all the wardrobe that you're going to be seeing during the season. I'll ask her to start making her way as I introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm welcome to Wambui Thimba.
Hello. So I'm Wambui Thimba, and I'm the stylist for Coke Studio. And this is my third year working on Coke Studio. This year is going to be different because we have a different theme. And I'm sure you've had it before. The theme is Unapologetically African. So what to expect in the show is to see like touches of what we think is African to us. So it could be accessories like what she's wearing, a touch of African print. So you're going to see a lot of color also. And that's with the dancers, with the artists, with the band, with the BVs. So expect this year to be much better, much more fun, much more interesting, very teen-centric. And yeah, so I look forward to you all watching the show and giving me your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wambui Thimba. Just in case you missed it, the theme for this year's Coke Studio Africa for 2019 is Unapologetically African. I'm really looking forward to how that is going to show up, not just in the styling, but in the music and in all your individual departments, even yours, Caroline. All right, so now we're going into that special part of the night, of the evening, the question and answer segment. So I have heard that there are people inside the room who have some questions for the panelists. So you are very welcome. The microphones are on standby. Just raise your hand, and one of the brand ambassadors is going to bring a microphone to you. So who would like to ask a question? All right, I see a hand right here. Hi, Queen Gadoni. How are you doing? All right, there's a mic coming towards you now. And go.
Good afternoon. So the other day, yesterday, there was a problem. There was a buzz on the internet about DJ Pinye and gatekeeping the music industry in Kenya. So my question is there gatekeeping on Coke Studio Africa when it comes to artists and producers? And do you ever feel the need to bring in artists that you only know or like or fond of?
Okay, this is a very good question and very important, especially for artists all over the continent to know. On Coke Studio Africa, we don't take artists because we know them or because we have a relationship with them. As you heard the discussions of Coke Studio Africa started in February. And the first thing which we focus on is the most relevant and well-performing artist the year we are going into shoot. Way and above that, like this season, we also do what we call research, whereby we bring or gather young people, because our target audience is the young, is a certain age group. And what we do is, they are called what? Focus groups. That's the name. We do focus groups. And we do focus groups, like we did focus groups of various countries, of the youth of various countries, asking them about the artists that they feel they would like to see on the show. And to be honest, most of the artists, 98% of the artists on Coke Studio this season are actually names that came up on those focus groups. Because as you can tell, some of us are not even in the age group. So you have to speak to that age group and let that age group tell you, I want to see so-and-so. I would prefer to see so-and-so. And you ask them why, so that you understand. Why is it that these young guys are talking about so-and-so and not so-and-so? Because it's also good to know that. So it is basically and purely based on your relevance in the market to our target audience at the year we are going on shoot.
And then to top it off, so obviously the audience is key. We also look at industry statistics. We look at social media. We look at PR. We look at just general research on artists as well. We have teams on the ground in all the countries that we broadcast in. And this ranges from, like Arthur says, from young people to industry people. So to broadcasters, radio DJs, club DJs, so-called experts in the industry, which is a very broad spectrum of people. So we try not to limit it to individual perspectives and tastes. We broad enough so that we get a balanced view. Then we take all those artists together, we look at them, we assess them, we then put them in front of the focus group, get feedback on that. It goes to client, it goes to the offices on the ground. So there's a lot of vetting that goes into choosing the artists. It also becomes based on not only the music they're making, but how they are as artists and as humans and as people and how they conduct themselves. Because we also try with Coke Studio to put across, and I think this, again, I think everything we're talking about is coming with a filter of applying that to our own careers and our own industry. So when you are creating a property and you decide on a theme, an attitude, a personality, one of the things we always used to do when we were creating a new property was personify it. So to always be like, if this show was a person, who would it be? You know? And you go through like celebrity names. Is it a Rihanna, you know? Or is it a... my favorite was a show we did in Nigeria. We were like, this is Jack Sparrow, you know, from Pirates. So this show is just crazy like that, you know? So it's easier to then understand your show more if you kind of personify it. So with Coke Studio, you know, when we're putting across this brand, which is essentially an optimistic, positive brand, you can't be dealing with artists who make their name from being like really controversial and like pushing the boundaries of censorship and, you know, keeping Mr. Ezekiel up at night. We don't want those guys, you know, because that's not what this brand is about. So that is another very important filter that we put on our artist choices. Do they match the brand values? And obviously every now and then these are celebrities, these are artists, they people. So they can make mistakes along the way. And if that happens, we see how bad the mistakes is, we reassess. And if we need to address that publicly, we do that and speak to the artist. But yeah, it's a very complex and detailed process, you know.
Just on gatekeeping, all right? And based on where you derive the gatekeeping word from. You cannot gatekeep a creative industry, because a creative industry is based on creativity, all right? And what was trendy and nice to you could not be nice and trendy to me. So you have to adapt with the new, what is it that the age group that you're targeting is demanding and wanting. So for me, the term gatekeeping is neither here, neither there. It's about what is it that is relevant, what is it that is trendy, which artist is presenting that to the target audience that you want to speak to. And if that artist is the one that these young kids are saying they want, now, whether you're gatekeeping or not, whatever that is, you have to give it to them. As long as they match the standards, as we've said, that is the first qualification. Then you go to the client and say, what do you think of this artist? These kids are saying they want this artist. Then the client says, well, yes, based on ABCD, or no, based on ABCD.
Thank you very much. I will ask for the next question, please. I hope that has been sufficiently answered. Just some housekeeping as far as the questions go. Please rise up and introduce yourself. Tell us what you're doing, because we'd want a good idea of who you are. And I see a hand there, then we'll come to you, and then we'll come there. All right?
Hi, my name is Sos, music producer. I also work with Mojo Productions. I would like to know why Coke Studio chose, out of Africa, why they chose to put their camp in Kenya, and specifically Nairobi. Thank you.
So, because Coke wanted to. No, I'm joking. I think to the point that Wes raised earlier, Kenya is a very cosmopolitan African city. So you find in cities like Johannesburg, where the industries may be slightly more developed, you maybe have more professionals to choose from because the industry is more developed. There are other limitations. Firstly, it's saturated. So, you know, there's, like, every studio is booked. But also it's just saturated, and South Africans, I'm going to say this about my country people because I can, because you can talk nonsense about your own country, not others, right? South Africans tend to be a little bit arrogant, a little bit spoiled, and they have so many, they're spoiled for choice. Whereas in Kenya, and it's very like South African centric. South Africans are quite closed to other cultures, to other countries, to other sounds. And that's something that, as Coke Studio, we worked when South Africa was involved the last 2 years. It's something we focused on. Even in my days at MTV, it was something we focused on, this idea of reimagining the African space, educating different countries about each other's sounds. It's a longer process with South Africans. They kind of set in their ways. Whereas you find, because Kenyans are exposed to more of a cosmopolitan, sort of Pan-African people, it's the perfect place for Coke Studio. Coke Studio is about bringing multiple cultures together. So I think it fits the vibe of Kenya a lot. Also, like we've said, we recognize that Kenya has got a lot of room for growth. And I say that in a positive way, not because it's in a bad space, but because there's so much room for growth. And by bringing a production like this to Kenya, I think what it's doing is also contributing towards the industry. It's putting Kenya on a map in a Pan-African space. It's helping, you know, a lot of the crew we work with have learned a lot. There's a great story Huge was sharing earlier of one of our crew members who, Eugene being the technical guy that he is, only rolls with like the freshest equipment, like new stuff, right? So the equipment that we're using this year has never been used in Kenya before, for example, and even in SA, it's brand new. And there's a couple of the technical guys who are working with Huge who have said that they are now able to position themselves. He's the only guy in Kenya who's done this, you know, at this point. So the kind of knowledge and information that's being passed on and shared. And I say this as well as very much, it's an exchange. It's not us coming and teaching people how to do things. We are learning from Kenyans as much as we are teaching Kenyans. It's definitely an exchange. But Kenya is the perfect place to do that. So we're helping develop the industry, helping develop the music industry, and it's sort of a cosmopolitan Pan-African space, if that makes sense.
And just to add, you know that the headquarters of Coke for a long time have been here. So this is their base, even on the other bigger business apart from Coke Studio.
There was also one logistical thing to consider in that whole decision, I guess. It is far easier for people on the continent to travel into Kenya from a visa point of view and a port of entry as opposed to South Africa, and distance. So the flight times are not exorbitant for artists, so we don't get them really tired landing there because we're kind of central. And I guess entrance laws to Kenya is far more relaxed than South Africa. South Africa just keeps their borders really tight, so it was going to make it hard for us to get artists in. So one of the other reasons.
Okay, you should say something about that.
It's something you need to learn. I didn't know that in particular. Oga, do you want to say something?
Okay, I think most of what they've said is true. And I always tell people that we pitched we pitched this show to a couple of people, and when we pitched it, we told them you can produce this show anywhere you want on the continent. So when you're coming back with your response, tell us where you prefer to shoot. And it was intriguing for us, for South Africans, to tell us it's easier, cheaper by $1 million, and more convenient to shoot in Nairobi than any other city in Africa. And there was lots of reasons that they gave. Immigration was one of it. Infrastructure is another one. If you try to do a production in Lagos, for example, you'll only find one studio that is close to what you would want. And if you want to stay in a hotel, you'll have hotel tier A, where you have to spend, upwards of, $500 a night, nothing in between, to hotel tier Z. Well, in Kenya, you have everything on that spectrum that you can pick. So it's very convenient logistically, and financially, it's actually cheaper to shoot in Nairobi than it is to shoot anywhere else. The only gap we have in Nairobi is a capability issue.
I'd just like to say for the record, Oga, that my wife disagrees with Kenya being the best place for this show to be shot.
Is there a reason why?
She's pregnant. Again.
How did that happen?
I have no idea. I was in Kenya.
We can fashion a few answers, but we'll do that afterwards. All right, there was a question over here.
Hi, my name is Laura. I do a lot of writing, and my question is kind of strange because most of the time when you ask a question, you kind of feel like you know where the answer is coming from. But this is pretty general. Am I correct to assume that it's very hard to get female talent in terms of musicians? And is this a challenge that you've been having in your show consistently over the years?
Let me start, and then and anyone can jump in at this point, especially Carol. Yes, it is more challenging to find female artists in the world. Even in the sort of space, other spaces I've worked in, when you're trying to find female talent globally, you either have super tier A-list artists, Beyonce, Rihanna, and then you have sort of C-list artists. Again, the same as the hotels. There's like no in-between. It's a massive problem in the industry as a whole, music, creative, business, the world. The world, in every single sector, in humanity, let me say, it's a problem, right? And it's a problem that we, all of us on the stage, client, are dedicated to addressing, like without wavering. So if you look at every element of our production, we are trying to contribute towards changing that. So when you look at our ratio of artists, we're just under 50-50, which does not reflect the industry. So we don't take the stance, which a lot of people do and productions do, to say, well, that's the way the industry is. So 1 in 10, so we all have a 1 in 10 ratio. We are very close to 50-50. In fact, with the finale episode, I think we actually are further towards women. Within our crew, wherever we can find, if the standard is, good enough, we have female camera operators, we have producers, music producers who we've brought in. So in every single way, we are trying to address that. But the answer is yes, it's very difficult, and we all know that because we're all in this industry, but it is the responsibility of every one of us to address that every day in everything we do. Like, absolutely. I believe that's something we should all be dedicated to outside of the industry in life, and various other things as well. You will see that we've got some other artists who are coming through that are part of other minorities, an artist who's got albinism, So we are trying to address these things. We believe in using, and I know I can speak for everyone on the stage, in all of our careers, and let this also be something to just share. Like, when you work in this industry, you are sitting on power that sometimes we don't realize, and we were talking about it earlier. There are little decisions that you can make as just part of your job that can completely change someone's life, And you sort of forget that, you're just doing your job. But you give someone an opportunity and it can change their whole life and their career and have massive implications. So when you sit with that power, use it for the greater good of humanity. And I know that sounds like, but it's true. We do sit with that and we can make an impact. And one little thing you can do that can make a difference, do it, man. Contribute towards making the world a better place. We have to,
That's lovely.
Yeah. Just to add on it, what I will tell you is we ensure we go out of our way to see to it that we have as many female artists as possible. We literally break the banks in terms of thought and research in trying to see where can we get that female artist that fits the bill. And even if they don't fit the bill completely, we still empower them, you get. And we've tried, like, in this season to make sure every country we have, if not two, at least one female artist on the show.
All right. Caroline, you have something to say?
The only female.
Yeah.
I know the ratio here
I'm
that
glad-
completely contradicts what I was saying.
I'm glad Caroline has something to say.
Yeah, but I represent all the women in the production. But I must say that, yes, we have, like under my team, I have more female than male. Actually, I think I don't have male except maybe for the interns. I think it just has to do with production is not as glamorous as people may think. Like you have to get your hands dirty. So the women who are in production really know that they have to work. There's no time to look pretty. If you look pretty, it's just like, wow, how do you make it happen? Because you're constantly running, you're on the phone, you're lifting things, you're helping grip. Because if I'm in the field with Wesley and his camera people are tied up and something needs to move, I have to lift the stuff. And I don't have to care whether I look pretty, you get. So I think it's just about women in the industry just knowing that it's like you have to get your hands dirty. But so far I'm impressed. I think for all the productions that I've worked in, 90% of the women in the production crew, I mean of the 90% of my production crew is female. So I think we're covered.
Actually,
And
my
we will continue
department,
to do
I'm
that.
the only male.
Yeah, that's true. So we have a lot of our crew are female. He's spoiled. Don't feel sorry for him.
You know what? It's my opinion, but what I'm starting to figure is that female technicians in our industry have a better disposition for things technical in television than guys do. It's my opinion, but I'm almost getting the sense that every time I give a technical task to a female, I get a result that's generally better than the one I was expecting for. With the guys, I get the exact same result that I was expecting. I'm going, I would have done it that way too. And then I figured that if I let, and I've got an amazing female cameraman, and I generally don't give her as much direction as I would the guys, because generally I get better stuff out of her if I'm not prescriptive. So I'm thinking this it must be a female mic. It wants to shut me up. I didn't say that.
You just went backwards.
So for me, I'm thinking to applaud females in the industry is probably going to help us on the road, because we're going to discover things that we might not have seen before or might have discounted, because I think females kind of join dots maybe slightly differently to guys, and it's nice to have that input on the crew, because they sometimes see some things differently and invariably save us time and add value. So I'm starting to see it.
Okay, so we'll just take a break from the room for a moment because I want to take a couple of questions that have come from our Instagram live feed. That guy Renson asks, what is Coke Studio doing for talented artists in the slums or ghetto who have no networks?
Pass the mic. So we have a segment on the show called Big Break, where we look for artists who are sort of coming up and who haven't had a big platform yet, especially in the Pan-African space, to be seen or heard. This comes from these networks we've discussed of really being plugged into industry and countries and young people, and we look for those artists who haven't yet quite blown, and we use the platform of Coke Studio to put them on to the world. And a lot of the times, it's not like we only target the hood, but a lot of the times, you know, these artists do come from less privileged backgrounds, and yeah, so we continually focused on using the platform to build new talent as well. Yeah.
And this is an artist per episode?
this is an artist per episode, and even a bit more. It's one artist per region that we deal with. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to add something. I know I saw Provoke. I think, is he still here? Okay. So Provoke started something on Instagram before he started shooting Coke Studio Africa called I Made Kenyan Challenge. You all remember that, right? So like we went there. So if you're an artist and all you need maybe is an Instagram, start something revolutionary. So we were moved by that to the point that we've picked one of the young producers who had the most hits on I Made Kenyan Challenge to come on board as a producer on the project this season. You get? So if you're out there and nowadays just be creative about your stuff. Get yourself out there somehow. And when you see a movement like that, I Made Kenyan Challenge, or whatever it is that is gonna come up tomorrow, I don't know what it is, maybe some, actually after that I expected this blessed vocalist to go on Instagram and say, I made Kenyan sound, you know, and you drop, what are they called, melodies and lyrics, and you start challenging each other, and the person with the most hits will be picked by either Coke Studio or any other movement or any other project that is out there. So if you are in the hood and you don't know Arthur K or Tim or Caro or anyone here, go on Instagram. It's there for everyone.
Can I just jump in? Because I remember at MTV I used to get a lot of times questions about like, yo, if I'm an upcoming artist, and I'm sure there's a lot who are watching right now. If I'm an upcoming artist, how do I get the networks? How do I get Coke Studio? How do I get MTV to see me, you know, to listen to my music? How do I get on your platform? And my response is always, we will come to you. And I think that's what Arthur's point is. That, and I'm not only talking about me, I'm talking about general, and I think anyone else who's making shows here would attest to this. We kind of follow, you know, in a certain way. Broadcasters, journalists, shows, they want to get ratings. So they are looking for people who have followings, people who are taking initiative and doing things. And taking initiative doesn't necessarily mean submitting your content to MTV or submitting your content to Coke Studio. We will, like, broadcasters are sheep, bruh. As much as, you know, we're leading the way and whatever, we're just following what's happening. We're reflecting culture. So we're not these big, powerful people. The powerful people are the artists. And if you, in this day and age, I mean, we old, like you said earlier, we come from a time when there was no internet. So to see artists who now have these platforms of social media, of YouTube, Insta, whatever, to put their content out there, it's such a blessing that you can build your own career without a major broadcaster, without a label, without a brand, without a TV show. You don't need it. Yeah. And once, if your music is nice, and you have the hustle, and you have the drive, and you have, you know, the ability to push your stuff, whether it's you or a team you put together or whatever, the broadcasters will follow. Because if you get your hood behind you, and you also find that people from hoods often tend to support people from their hood. So if you get that love, if your hood starts to shout about you, the broadcasters will notice and they'll find you. So don't worry about trying to find the broadcaster. Build your thing, and the broadcasters will come.
And to support that, you all know of Ethic, right? You guys know Ethic has not been played by any media house, right? Until the hits came on air. That's the first time they got airplay, by the way, if you don't know. No radio station is playing some of the songs they've done. But look at them. They built their song to 2 point. Right now, I think they're sitting at over 3 million views without any airplay. Now, they won't go unnoticed. That I can assure you. They won't go unnoticed because without support from the media, they've been able to rally around their hood behind them to the point now they have millions of views of their songs. So when a project like Coke Studio comes up, there is no way Coke Studio can ignore such. So to the guy who asked that question, and I understand where you're coming from, I just need you to face that reality of a group like Ethic. They are from the hood. They don't have networks. Right now, everybody knows who they are, and everybody wants to do something with them.
Are they going to be featuring on the show? Are you allowed to say? Okay, yes. Oga, you have something to say?
So I just want to talk about three things, and Tim knows I'm very passionate about this. So 3 people who are on Coke Studio. First is a lady called Wendy Kemunto, who's a background vocalist. So how did Wendy get on Coke Studio? Wendy sat in a room with Polycarp and did a cover of Yemi's song and posted it on Instagram. It was so good that Yemi reposted it on her Instagram, and because we follow Yemi, we saw it and realized this girl can actually sing. Did she know any of us? No. We actually had to DM people to ask, can someone get us her phone number? There's a guitarist on the season now called Ivy. She was playing at National Theatre in Sarafina. We went for the play, saw a girl that's playing guitar remarkably, and then she's on the show. 2 weeks ago, Tim needed a female keyboardist. And we said, well, we went for this concert, and there was a very talented female keyboardist. Can someone find her? So you need to do something. Do something with the talent you have. It won't come to you. Go out there, do something, and someone will see it and do something about it.
Thank you very much, Oga. I'll take one more question coming in from Instagram. Let me see. Okay, so this is a question that I think can open up a wider conversation about production values, because we talked about this. Official Mel V asks, what is best to consider when shooting a music video? Is it high-end equipment? Is it lighting? But I'd like to expand that question as to what it actually takes to create content that carries, whether it comes down to the production values behind it, the intention, the story. What is it? Wesley.
I think it's a really, really dope concept, because if you look at the music videos that win awards, are not the ones with the highest production value. It's the concept and how you flip the script on current music videos. So if you look what's happening right now and you flip the script and you come up with something that no one has seen before, that's essentially what will get you recognized. There's nothing, for me, I think it just starts with a concept and not doing what everybody else is doing.
Is there anyone else that would like to answer that question? Yeah.
Show people what they want to see, man. So if you're doing a music video, technical is important. It's the fundamental. But just be clever and different about it. And Tim and I always talk about like music videos that we still remember from the 80s, where people learn to sing the song backwards. And then you get on the video and it's exactly what Wesley's saying. It's just be clever, flip the script. And they sang it backwards, walking forward through the city. But when you play the music video, they're walking forward but singing, you know. And it's just those little clever things that's going to make your video different to anything else. So it's not really about technical, and it's more about creatively how you interpret the song. And I think every song has a soul, and if you can bring it through in the music video, done.
Nice. Nice, very nice.
I mean, Naiboy's video for 2-in-1 is a good example of how technical quality doesn't have to be HD cameras and lighting, and the whole thing was shot on cell phones. Okay, he had access to celebrities, and that obviously helped the celebrity presence, but it was a concept. It was tapping into something that everyone's familiar with now, selfies and things being shot on phones, and that video everyone talks about as one of the nicest videos in Kenya right now, and it cost very little money to do. So I think that's a classic example. That being said, there's contradicting things within this industry. So as much as us as creatives was just do something out the box, let's be honest, some of the biggest videos now are not out the box at all. You know? Like, I mean, that's the reality. And yet they're working. So sometimes it's just also giving people, like you said, what they want, but something familiar. So there's something to be said for replicating a sort of style palette, right? And it's not imitation, but it's looking at what is out there and being like, okay, I can kind of do that. Then add that little thing to it to make it yours. But look at what's familiar. So there's certain things that are just not going to work. And if you don't have the instinct to know what's not going to work, look at what people are not doing, and then also don't do it. So like, don't have someone stand against a banner. Or you could do a Coke Studio banner wall. We'll support that video. Okay. But not just stand against a banner against the wall and shoot it. You're like, well, that's different. No one does that. You're like, no, but there's a reason no one does it, right? So it's still got to be You know, like creatively do something original that still has some kind of aesthetic or conceptual appeal to it. But there was an argument. I don't know if am I rambling? Yeah? Okay. There's again, and I'm sorry to keep talking about MTV because they're not paying for this. But when we launched MTV in 2005, we had a challenge that there was a lot of really good music, but there weren't very good music videos. Africa has a different aesthetic. Africa has a different approach. Look at Nollywood. Nollywood is not technically like that, and yet it's making global impact, and people love it, and it resonates, and it's making millions of dollars, you know? So it becomes one of these things, like I said, there's this duality to our industry where you can say one thing, but something else, the opposite, makes sense. That's life, again. And I think a lot of what we're talking about today, we're realizing how the industry reflects life and life reflects the industry, right? So there are these contradictions that can live next to each other. So Nollywood gets away with it because of content. So the content, the story, people can relate to it. Then technical doesn't matter. With a music video, you can achieve the same. If your concept is really dope, then fine, maybe your technical quality, Naibo as an example, doesn't have to be good. But if you're just making a video on Jay and it's not this like groundbreaking concept, then have the technical quality at least that I feel familiar. I'm like, yes, this is good. Because if it looks shitty, then I'm going to think the artist is shitty and the music is shitty. Excuse my language, right? So there are those two things. But I would just say, especially if you're trying to break into other markets, give people something that's familiar. And if it means watching music video channels, looking and saying, okay, people like this, people like that, do it, add your own little personal flavor, and there's a lot less risk of it not working.
Got it. All right, thank you. I saw, okay, so you happen to have the mic in your hand.
My name is Philip Ogola, digital humanitarian.
If you could please rise so that the people at home can see you.
I'm vertically challenged.
More than me?
My name is Philip Ogola from Digital Humanitarian. My question is not musical, but it's actually a challenge to the producers in the house and probably to the Coke team. First of all, this is a very brilliant masterclass. I'm actually learning a lot. You know, from a pedestrian, we normally watch music, but you know the kind of depth which is put to actually put this into play. But I want to challenge Coke Studio. Just coming off the Global Citizen concert in SA, is Coke Studio also planning to do the same for Africa? Because right now Coke Studio has a Pan-African audience where music cuts across age, gender, tribe, country. Are you going to see Coke Studio also getting into social good, where you have a huge music fan base, you have artists at your fingertips? Are you going to bring them together to actually push education, push hunger, those kind of things?
Yeah, great question.
Thank you, Philip.
I think, and again, this is, Andrew might want to jump in here as well. I think...
Andrew, we should have just reserved a space for you on the stage, man.
We are touching on many issues, and I think some of them have come out today. We are touching on women empowerment, women's rights in the industry, tangibly. There's even, you'll see this season, there's certain things that are actually really addressing that, and we speak about it in some of our, in one specific episode is dedicated to that issue. I've touched on albinism. I've touched on the industry development. We've touched on artists from the hood being developed. So within the contextual space, we are touching on social issues, right? I think there's always, and there's always going to be a million other social issues that need to be addressed. But one thing I'd say confidently with working with Coke and on this production, there's a lot of issues that are being dealt with. I think as we develop, and each season, you know, this year we chose to focus on women empowerment. That's the key one. And again, it's, again, a life lesson. Shotgun approach versus a targeted approach. Shotgun approach, let's touch on a little bit of this and that problem, that issue, this one, that one. You know, you're diluting your impact. Whereas if we say this season, it's about women empowerment. That's really our main focus this year. And then the usual focuses of developing talent, developing the industry, giving artists a chance, using our platform to build careers. Because that's also an issue, right? So I think I can sleep at night, because I'm like that, bro. Like, I can't work on a production if there isn't something that it's doing. Like, if it's just some frivolous entertainment thing, I can't do it, you know? And I know, again, I speak for everyone here, we all like that. And you tend to gravitate towards people like that. So absolutely, there's so much more we could be doing. But we can sleep at night knowing we are tackling certain issues and we're addressing them, you know? But I agree, and I think it's something every one of us in this room should be challenging ourselves. How do we tackle some of these other things? If hunger is the one we're going to focus on, what kind of impact can we do with that, you know? So we take the challenge. You know, we take the challenge to continue on this path and do more.
All right. There was yeah. We'll go to this side of the room. If you could just hand him a mic, please. Please remember to introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Martin Kimathi, media personality of National Media Group. And my question is really based on because I remember there's a time we had artists from Kenya complaining they're not getting the same amount as compared to artists in Nigeria. Is that still a problem right now? Like, are the artists being paid the same, or comes with the red card of a particular artist?
Anywhere there's money, there'll always be problems, trust me. But that said, we don't have that problem right now, because I want to say this in confidence. Most of the artists that we are handling this season, I think they know their worth, and we negotiated with them with that in mind. Also, when Coke Studio started, the industry was not where it is right now, again, even in Kenya and even in these other regions. So people have also grown and have understood how to negotiate and what to ask for. And hence, you find that by the time you are going to speak to an artist now, they already have a management, yet the artist might be new, because even as an industry, people have grown. So nowadays, when artists are coming out, they are coming out with an entire, they have an entire package. They have a manager. They already understand the industry. They know the market rates and all that. So you find that the discussion now is easier because that artist already understands and knows who they are and the worth that they would demand as them. So remember, we don't go to impose prices on people. We go to negotiate. You understand? So we don't go and say, for Kenya, this is the markup. No, we negotiate. So the management of that artist negotiates with Coke Studio Africa on what they would be paid. Okay? So every agreement that we have is not based on an imposition. It's based on a negotiation. There's nowhere where there's negotiations you can say you imposed. So I don't think that's a problem, and I think it's a perception that also exists that has started to change, because the artists in Kenya also got empowered and are now able to sit on a negotiation table and put forth their worth and negotiate for what they want or they believe they should be paid.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions. I hope that was a satisfactory answer. I see a gentleman. Oh, wait, we'll go to this side of the room first. Do you have the mic in your hand? All right.
Good evening. My name is Peter Outa, a PR professional for about 10, 15 years. My question was just probably more of a comment to what Philip Ogola said about what we do to the society. Like right now, as we speak, does Coke Studio have something to do with the HIV mainstreaming to the artists, to the staff, as well as to the employees who are there? Then also, do they have a policy that guides the disabled people, maybe if they have a chance to also perform? Or is there a quota that is set aside for them so that as they also learn about all these things, also mainstream the public into the program? For example, as they teach them about music and what have we, are we also teaching them about life skills, things to do with HIV/AIDS, how to present themselves when they're going for maybe interviews or to that kind of thing, so that as much as we are building their career in music, we also build them as the youth and other participants.
Here we go. Rise, Oga, rise.
All right, I think it's important for us to remember that Coke Studio is part of a company that is called the Coca-Cola Company. So Coke Studio will definitely not be in a position to address all of the social issues we need to address. Now, if you now double click into what the Coca-Cola Company does as a company, there's a lot that we do within the societies. In fact, Philip, you know Coca-Cola was part of Global Citizen, right? And we actually unveiled a bottle that's been made 100% from recycled material during the Global Citizen. So there's a lot we do as a company when it comes to our social responsibility, and there is only so much that we can use one particular asset, that is Coke Studio, to address. Now, if you look at what we do, for example, with football and Coca-Cola and other things, we do actually touch onto some of the matters you're talking about. And we have Carol Warui here, who can give you all that. Do you know about something like 5x20, for example, where we want to empower 5 million women by the year 2020. So there's a lot we do as a company, and there's only so much we can allocate to an asset that is Coke Studio. I hope that answers you.
I just want to expand on that a little bit. So part of my directive on the show and what I need to achieve is a sense of learning and empowerment. But it is not based on whether you're male or female or any of your disabilities. So part of what Wesley and I do is tell enriching stories that teach, irrespective of who you are, teach you life skills based on the artists we have and how we portray them on the show. So yes, Coke Studio is a lot about music, but it's also getting to learn about that artist. And make no mistake, if you are an artist on Coke Studio, it means you're successful, you've worked hard, and you've got to this place by being really sharp. So us being able to tell your story is we inference a lot of teaching in that way. And we're very cognitive of the fact that if we're trying to tell an artist story, that there's some sort of underlying element of education in that, be it from a family life, from trying to get ahead financially, overcoming obstacles. Those are some of the filters we use when we tell artist stories. So the music's there for the entertainment, but there is a lot of meat in the show that's outside of music that has, inference teaching.
All right. I'll take the second to last question. I see you at the back.
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm a musician. I wanted to ask just two questions. First, maybe to everyone, what is the one thing that you know now that you wish you knew before the show started? And then, as guys work in the industry, we know that some things usually go wrong. You guys are talking very nicely, everything goes well all the time. What are the stories of where things have actually failed that could be juicy? I would like to hear.
Dan, were you here for the first story?
Switch off the cameras.
Your CV is on the line. Go ahead.
Hey man, there's one really cool example that just kicks to mind really quickly. I've been a risk taker. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. So part of my contribution to the show is the fact that I take risks. I am a risk taker. One of them actually happened to be in yesterday, and it backfired. Tim would have said we've got a lot of expensive gear, and the thing we deem to be most precious to us are our cameras. They cost, in fact, the camera that went up in smoke yesterday cost more than my house when I first bought it. But I did take the risk. I wanted lasers on the one performance because I thought it really fitted. So I brought the lasers in and put it in. And I was on my way out after having shown the laser guys where to put the box down. So I said, put the box down here, I'll be back in 2 minutes. And I ran outside to get the technical guys in to say, switch the cameras off. But somewhere, somehow, someone was too fast and someone was too slow, and we lost a camera yesterday. So the laser popped the camera. So stuff does go wrong. There is stuff that happens that you have no control over. But it wasn't a person, so no one lost an eye, and I guess we're fine. But we did lose a camera. The thing I wish I had known when I started Coke Studio, not just the season, but Coke Studio, is how long does it take to make an original track with two artists? TV runs to a schedule. And if I knew the answer to that question, I'd be so much more effective in making better music and being able to manage the schedule. So the one thing I still haven't got to grips with is how long does it take for two talented artists to make an original track? I wish I knew that when I started, and I'm still trying to figure that one out.
How long's a piece of string?
About that long.
I think I'll just give one juicy story. Not for this season, last season, we brought in Rayvanny and the artist from Angola.
Gita Fina.
Yeah, Gita Fina. And they're both very talented, very young, very energetic, and they both want to be out there. So the two of them clashed. And there was a whole standoff for some time before we could get the two to gel and make them understand each other. And the best part about it, when it happened, obviously the managements of each other started going at each other. And we had to come in and cool them and make sure everybody's relaxed. But the best thing is, and I want you today to, when after this you go and check that song. Those two, the song they did, made Rayvanny be called to Angola by one of the biggest female artists in Angola and one of the richest female artists in Africa to do a song with him because they did an amazing, amazing song. So that's one of them I think I can think of on top of my head. Like, I have never forgotten that one. It has never happened before, and it has never happened again, but that one was a good one. That was a juicy one. Not a good one.
Okay. Do I really have? I think I can just address the part where you say that we probably act or give responses as if everything goes well. No, it doesn't go well. As a producer, you know something is gonna, go sideways. So, and you don't know what it is. You just deal with it as it comes, and it can be anything. Specific to Coke Studio, I guess for me, the dealings that we have is, if, for example, hasn't happened this season, Arthur, you've been great, but is when probably an artist doesn't show up when they're supposed to show up, like they don't keep the call time for whatever reason. So we schedule you for like an 8 a.m. to start recording your music, but you show up at 12. And because we have to organize everything, reorganize everything, and probably start to film another pair, and then you show up in the middle and you're not happy that you're waiting and stuff like that. So it's just having to manage that. It's never pretty, it's not pleasant. But also because of those delays, having to film longer, like maybe ending up at 11 p.m. or probably just after midnight. But it does happen. What does that mean for me as a producer? Cost implications. So when that happens, how do I prep myself? But it just really is, if everybody could just stick to the schedule, we'd all be happy. But if it doesn't happen, then we just have to deal with it. Yeah.
I don't have a juicy story, but something I wish I'd known was how patient you have to be when you work with people who speak many different languages. So there's French dialect from Madagascar, and then you bring in a French translator who doesn't understand what the other person's saying, and then the artist also speaks like the shang of that of that country. You have to sit there, be so patient, and witness language go through 4 people, and then it's still wrong, and you go back 4 times and have to do that again. So when production is saying we're running late, I'm like, no, we can't, you know what I mean? Like it's just a ripple effect. So yeah, that I wish I'd known how long this content thing would have. Yeah.
I think just one of the challenges on any production that involves celebrities, and it's come up a few times, where celebrities are involved, ego is involved. There's always a lot of challenges. I mean, I'm not going to name artists or the hotel, but one of our previous hotel partners, we had one artist who refused to stay there. It was like a really high-end hotel. And his reason was, and I might give away which hotel I'm talking about. His reason was like, nah, man, I feel like I'm on the set of Harry Potter. I can't stay here, So there are artists who have big egos. Now, I think, again, like what excites me about today is we're able to share and discuss as professionals together. I think one of the things we need to challenge ourselves on, and yet it's a bit of a catch-22, it's a dilemma. We feed the ego of these artists because we want to get the best out of them. And because they are good at what they do, and they're talented and they're famous. So you want them to feel comfortable. I mean, Arthur has given up his own personal ego to cater to other people's. But I think what's an interesting challenge for all of us is to just think about this a bit as we go about our daily lives working with celebrities. You want them to be happy, but it's a vicious circle that lands up happening because the artists realize the more they act like a diva and the more difficult they are, the better we treat them. Because if you've got an easygoing artist, all of us, because we're all so stressed and we're running around, we've got a production to run, and this artist is just like, no, I'm cool, it's fine, don't worry, I'll be fine, just tell me when you're ready. then you just land up neglecting them a little bit. And you're kind of like, okay, cool, he's cool. So let me like, and then you're dealing with other stuff and the artist gets neglected a little bit. Then the artists start realizing that other artist who's a complete a-hole, hate that word. Can I just say asshole? It just feels so much better. I was trying to censor myself. Mr. Ezekiel's on his...
That's what we call a cultural exchange.
Thank you, sir. You're gonna get a pass.
He just handed out an instant classification. You may continue.
So, you know, they realize that, and it's true, if they start acting like that, you make sure they're cool. So you're like, yo, don't leave this guy because he's gonna trip and then he'll be unhappy. So, and then you dedicate someone to just tap dance around him and make sure he's cool and do you have what you want, and no matter how ridiculous his demands are, you give them to him. And then the artist starts realizing, even though I'm not an asshole as a person, if I act like an asshole, I get treated better. You know, so it's this weird vicious circle that we all feed into as the industry. And I think it's something we need to think about more and be more conscious of, and to, you know, I guess it all comes down to negotiation, like Arthur said, but it's like, let the artist understand that as much as they are the celebrity, they're also part of a team. So there's very much an onboarding that happens with us. And I think because we do operate as a team and almost like a family, it's like, let the artist know that they are part of that family. They are not here to be a superstar. And yet we really do respect them and what they've achieved, and we will give them what they need, but they need to understand they are part of a functioning team here, and we are all damn good at what we do. And just because you sing doesn't make you any better than Wesley who directs content. You know what I mean? So you can't speak to him in a way that's disrespectful either. And if we keep that mutual respect, so it's just about how do we figure this out, and it's not something I have an answer to, but something that I think we can all just think about as we go. It's like, how do you not feed into that problem and build these egos, but at the same time show respect? And I think it's an interesting thing that I've learned. Still don't have the answer, but it's something that I'm glad I'm being challenged to think about.
All right, we'll take one final question.
Oh, sorry, mine wasn't a question. So I also wanted to give an example of things that could go wrong. So the first artist that we worked with, which was back in 2016, was Bahati, was partnered with Kiss Daniel. So we had to dress them. And so I thought, okay, Kiss Daniel is from Nigeria. We'll do some African print. He'll love it. And so we go and show him the clothes, and he looks at them, and he's like, what is this? So like, that's the clothes, these are the clothes you're going to wear to perform. And he's like, this is what farmers in Nigeria wear. I was like, and he showed us on Google. He Googled farmers in Nigeria, and that's what they wear. And he's like, this is not the quality of fabric that we use. And that was shocking. That was the first week, and we're like, okay, so now we need to do some research and find out about the different countries, what they wear, what kind of fabrics they do have there, the quality, and also their style, personal style. So we were telling him what to wear instead of finding out, like, what is your style? What do you wear when performing and for music videos? Because every artist is different. So we would research and check their music videos, but that's not what they wear when they're performing on stage. So those are the things that we had to learn along the way. Sometimes we get artists who reject everything that we give them. They're like, no, that's not my style, or I don't like the color, I don't like this. But we've learned to always have options of clothes. So if this didn't work, we have this and this and that. So yeah, it's always interesting working with them.
So lesson, when in doubt, Google what the farmers in that country are wearing. Yes, you have the pleasure of asking the final question for the evening.
Okay, good. So my name is Sharon, and I am a journalist at BBC Africa. So my question is more, it's more of tips and sort of takeaway, because I think a lot of people in Africa, young people in Africa, want to get into the creative economy. They want to work as a stylist, you know, they want to work as a creative director, but we don't really know how to go about that. We don't know what it takes. I don't know what your job description is, for instance, or even yours. And I think having forums like this, where you understand what a line producer does and what it means to be a producer of the beat. I mean, I used to watch The Beat when I was younger. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what you would do. And I just think having this kind of forums is absolutely amazing. I think it would make great content as part of Coke Studio, you know, the sort of what happens behind the scenes in terms of the actual concept and what is actually being, you know, outputted to, besides the music. So it was just to say that this was wonderful. I wish it could happen many more times. I wish it was accessible to so many other people, and I'm glad that you're streaming it on social media. But I just wish it could happen more often than once. I don't know if it's happened before. This is my first time, but this is great. This is great.
Thank you very much for that, Andrew. I hope you heard that. Let's continue doing this, and I am happy to be the host of the rest of them. All right,
I believe,
so.
You know, I think you should comment.
Because actually, exactly what she said is what I was telling Andrew immediately after we went for break, that I wish this was well advertised and the industry knew the kind of panelists that we have. Because this kind of expertise and the knowledge and you know, on the job situations that they're talking about is what the industry needs. It's not really the policy that is the issue. It's also the depth, the commitment, the passion that comes with this kind of interactions. And I've requested Andrew humbly, because we now have Nairobi Cinema, now Nairobi Film Center. We can offer that place for this kind of classes, provided I'll get this quality of panelists. And we will advertise. If it will mean buying space in the paper, we commit to do that. So advertise it as much as possible. We'll commit money into it. I am very happy that our Cabinet Secretary for ICT is following this, and he says he's very pleased with what is going on. And really, if we can synergize now between what the private sector like Coca-Cola is doing and the government, I think we can take this industry forward. So I think that's a very relevant thing. That was a passion I had, and I think going forward, we need now to come together. So Nairobi Cinema is now open, so state of the art. We offer it for free for artists, and I think this is an opportunity for Coca-Cola to take this to the next level, to ensure that many more artists tap into it.
Thank you very much for that. And now that we're coming to the end of the panel, and the people that have been viewing online and the people that have been here, I think, have gained quite a bit from this session, I'd like to invite everyone to make one last final statement, and then we're going to have the closing remarks. This is the time for your final gem, your final masterclass gem to the people watching you.
I can start. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I haven't wrapped it up in my head yet. As a content developer, so my job is to create brand new formats of reality TV shows. And I've watched a lot of TV because I've been coming to Kenya for 3 years now. I've realized that it's just so much that can be done in that space. And as a content developer, if there are any producers or people in the room that would like some advice on how to go about creating new form, because it feels like a daunting task, but it's actually quite easy. So if you'd like to chat about stuff like that, I'm happy to. Cool.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Wesley.
Okay. Production, line producer. You should have gone second. So what I can say is, as a producer, as a line producer, yes, you are in charge of money, watching the line, seeing how the money is being spent, warning people when they are about to run out of money, or when people come to ask you for money, and you get to listen to a team, or you get to listen to a Eugene, and you go like, okay, that makes sense, which means let's reduce here, let's give you money for this, because I understand the vision, what we are trying to achieve. So I don't always have to say no. I have to understand the creative team, what they're going for, what they want, and be able to be flexible around that. And also to be able to plan and focus and know that the money that we have and the way we are getting money on the project, or rather the way we are being funded on the project, will be enough to allow us to execute the project. So that midway, we don't run out of money, and we're to the client, like we've exhausted all the money we were commissioned to use on the project. So you have to have that holistic view of what the project requires and an understanding of every department. And as I said earlier, I started at a lower entry level, and I think that experience gave me an all-round experience to understand what each department is doing and what they're going for. So when they approach me, when they ask for more money, I completely understand. Also, when they're asking for more money and I'm like, I don't think you have to do it that way, we have other options, so that I'm not just saying yes to things that are not going to actually add like exceptional value to the production. And I just think anybody who wants to be a line producer just need to have an all-round experience of working with the different departments, being good with money, being able to forecast and plan. Above all, set work plans and workflows and understand them. Be able to deliver according to schedule and set up a team that is going also to deliver for the project. Thank you.
Okay. First, this season of Coke Studio that you're shooting, I am just going to say everybody should look out for it. It's unapologetically African, and therefore one of the reasons why we are not having an international artist is because this is unapologetically African. 2, it will be very teen-centric. You will notice by the artists that we have on board, once they are revealed, that these are the artists who are relevant to the teens and to the young generation now. And not necessarily a big name, but somebody who is relevant and who the teens want to see and hear from. So this is one season that I think will be very exciting because of the artists we have across board. They are very young, very energetic, and very vibrant. From a talent manager's point of view, talent management point of view, I just want everybody to know that first you've got to fear God. Me, I'm a God-fearing man. And you've got to understand and know what talent management is. I was privileged to work for MTV and to be trained at an international level on artist management. If you're out there and you're wondering how can you become one, start where you're from. I started where I was at in 2001, and today I'm where I'm at. There is no formula. It's just you pushing and pushing and pushing and being dedicated and being committed and knowing that life opportunity comes once. So when it comes, be very alert to know that this is your door to get in and take off. Thank you very much.
Like I've been lucky enough to work on quite a lot of big things that have done well, but every day I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to deliver. For me, coming up with ideas is painful. It's pleasurable as well, but it's hard. It hurts. I always have the analogy of creating an idea is like giving birth. Not that I would know as a man anything about the pain and difficulties of that, but from what I can imagine, it's giving birth to an idea. It's painful. It's horrible. Like I get so anxious, you know? So I think my message to everyone is it's okay. Like if you feel like that, it's okay. It's okay to not be this amazingly great person. It's okay to be a bit weird and quirky. It's okay to be an individual and like not know how to handle yourself in front of certain people or panic a little bit or like it's okay. Like just do you, man. Just do your thing, and if it's meant to be, it'll be. And just, you know, just be you. Represent your flavor, represent your style. I've worked with some directors, some of the best in the world. Like in fact, when we did making the video thing, we brought some of the best directors in the world who were directing Beyonce's videos, whatever. And you meet them and you're like, this person is actually quite weird. They're like quite quirky and they're not this cool, amazing. They're quite weird and they're a bit socially awkward, and it's okay, you know? It's okay. Just do your thing. Believe in what you see in your head and put it down and be confident and just do your thing and don't worry what anyone else thinks. So I think that's the first lesson. The second one is use the platforms to say something. Don't just make frivolous content. Understand the impact that you are having when you work in this space. Of if your work is going out publicly, whether it's music or broadcast or whatever, understand and use it for something good, even if it's just to encourage people, even if, yes, tackle the big issues, tackle hunger and whatever if you can, but even if not, just use the platform to make some kind of impact. Even if it's empowering someone, something, just use that platform to do something nice. Be nice. Sure.
But did you say socially awkward?
That's a socially awkward laugh. You see, you also...
No, I just know what Tim would have said if he wasn't on camera. So it wouldn't have been socially awkward. I had about 6 other words in my head. I kind of listened to what everyone said, and here's what I picked up. I picked up excellence, the want to be good. I picked up efficiency in what you do. And I heard a lot of money come from that side. And those are actually the 3 cornerstones to our industry. Good, fast, cheap. And if we as producers can agree that any production can only have 2 of those things, we're in a good space. You cannot have good and fast and cheap. If you think you can, you're kidding yourself. So if you want good and cheap, it's not going to be fast. If you want fast and good, it's not going to be cheap. So I think producers need, I think producers, producers, executive producers, clients, sponsors need to understand that in order for us as creatives, as technical, as custodians of the industry, we'll only be effective if we understand that very basic principle. So I think if you're ever sitting in a boardroom and someone says you need to do something creative, you're going to go, right, so which 2 do you want? Do you want good and fast or good and cheap? So I think if that's my closing statement, just chew on that a little, because a lot of us actually come up short because we try and do all 3, and it's not possible. Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, another round of applause for our panelists. Series Director Eugene Naidu, Executive Creative Director Tim Horwood, Talent Manager Arthur K, Line Producer Caroline Ngesa, and of course our Content Director Wesley Masilo Mahamata. Please, a hand for them. Thank you. All right, so we're not quite at the end yet. We have one more person to listen to who's going to give a vote of thanks and just summarize everything that we've been doing. Please, a warm welcome to the Digital Manager of East and Central Africa, Mukami Masharia.
Whoop, whoop. Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to summarize what has been spoken, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for coming. Thank you so much, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, for being here today. I know a lot of people here would like to have a word with you, just to pick your brain a little bit, so you can hang out with us at the end of this. To the panel, Wes, Caroline, Arthur, I know everyone is looking at Tim's dreadlocks. And to Eugene, thank you so much. Today is your day off, so we appreciate the fact that you actually took the time and made this important day for everyone, just to be here and give all the knowledge that you have in order to enrich the Kenyan community when it comes to the creative industry. Coke Studio has been here for 6 seasons, as had been mentioned earlier, and this is the first time that we're doing a masterclass. It had not been in our plan, but we decided it's something that's very important. So it's been a few weeks in the making, thanks to Oga here, Mr. Andrew. It's been a passion, I think, of Andrew's. I think Coke Studio Africa is synonymous with Andrew. So thank you very much for seeing this as a worthy enough project. And seeing this knowledge transfer being key to the Kenyan industry, and to everyone who's watching us online. We're live actually across different platforms on various markets in Africa. To the digital influencers who honored our invite, I know today is a Sunday, you'd rather be somewhere else, but you decided to be here. Thank you very much. We're actually trending online organically. Thank you so much. To Wamboi, thank you for coming. I know today was a work day for you as well, but you made it. To our digital teams, Aigobantu, Ogilvy Africa, both for digital and PR, thank you so much. And to Sankara for hosting us here today, we really appreciate you. Sankara is one of our partners for the show. They are the ones that host our artists. And today is also a work day for them because today is the day that we actually receive artists who will be here for the week. So I don't think Andrew had spoken about the format of Coke Studio Africa, but we do have a full week with the artists, and Saturday is usually recording day. So for any of you that might be interested probably to attend a recording session, our last recording session is on Saturday. Please speak to Rehema. Please stand, Rehema. And she'll be able to guide you as to how to go about coming to the studio on Saturdays, just to see behind the scenes what happens in an actual production. I think that will be very important after this masterclass for those of you who are interested to see, so how does this come together? So that you don't just see it on TV next year in 2019 and be like, yeah, I attended a masterclass, now I'm watching the show, but if you're interested in seeing behind the scenes, that would be awesome. So you're welcome to attend that as well. Nakuhayo machache, mine was just to say something small. I welcome you just to hang out, mingle. Some of you have never met before. You're in different industries. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope to have a very successful 2019 season. And this should not be the last of our master classes. So we'll keep you in mind for any future engagements that we have. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the Coke Studio Africa Masterclass. Thank you so much for being here. We'd also like to thank those who are joining us online on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. To the people in the room, there's still plenty of food coming, so please stick around. You can have a conversation with each other, with our panelists. I'm sure you have a lot of questions for them. And I have been made aware that Charlie Karumi, who's been working very hard as our roving reporter on the ground, is ready to ask a few more questions of the people in the room. So our online audience, please do not go away. Charlie is out there. Charlie, I hope you're ready. I know you've been working really hard. Thank you so much for the work. I need to acknowledge you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mugambi Ntega. I have been your host, and I have been conducting this panel, and I'm very, very honored to be here. Thank you to the Coke Studio Africa team and to everyone else. Thank you.
Asante sana Mugambi Nthiga, our host inside the hall for Coke Studio Africa 2019. This is the masterclass, and this is what we did. We gathered the heads of departments, the head honchos from the top departments at Coke Studio Africa 2019, and then we got them into a room, you know what, to disseminate the information, because they have so much to share with us. They have the level of experience, the level of expertise that goes into producing Coke Studio Africa 2019. It's insane. So all of that content and all of that experience is coming here to this hall at the Sankara. And we're just talking to other creatives, other professionals in the creative industry, and we're just letting them know what they need to do or where they need to improve. Just ideas. Like, we all need that as creatives. We just need ideas to be inspired, to make better content. So that's what we were doing today. And on stage, and I'm going to try to get some of them here on camera with me, but on stage we had Mr. Eugene Naidu, we had Tim Horwood, we had Caroline Gessa, we had, who else did we have? We had Wesley Masilo Makamata, I hope I'm saying that correctly. And of course, we had, yeah, that's who we had on stage. And all of these are the heads of department, various heads of department at Coke Studio Africa 2019. So they were with us here just telling us about the kind of work they're doing and why we should be excited about Coke Studio Africa 2019. Remember, we have artists from over 6 countries. We have artists from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, where else? Ethiopia, we have Zimbabwe, we have Zambia represented, we have Mozambique, or Moz, as Chris Kirwa calls it, and we have artists from Nigeria. All of these African artists are coming here to collaborate to do something that we like to call at Coke Studio Africa. We want to create that modern Africa sound. And as you guys have heard from Wesley, this year the theme is being unapologetically African. We're not apologizing for being African. And in bringing all these artists together, we're trying to make that unique African modern sound. And some of those artists, by the way, I've been given the list of some of the artists to expect next year, starting February 2019. That's when Coke Studio Africa 2019 starts. So let's see, who do we have here for next year? We have from Kenya, we have a Naiboy, we have Moji Shot Baba, we have Calligraph Jones, we have Nadia Mokami. That's just from Kenya. From Tanzania, Bongo Flava yenyewe, we have Vanny Boy Rayvanny, we have Nandi, we have Harmonize, we have Liza. This guy is behind like some of the biggest hits in Tanzania right now. We have Juma Jux as well. From Uganda, we have Shiba Karunji, we have Fik Fameka, we have King Saha, we have Weasel as well from Uganda. From Ethiopia, we have Mahlet, we have Bisrat, we have Babush, we have Yaret Negu and Rofnan Nuri. From West Africa, we have Scales, we have Rude Boy and Gospel on the beat. We have Winky D from Zimbabwe. We have Chef 187 from Zambia. And of course, from Mozambique, we have Messias. And these guys are collaborating with some of the top professionals in the industry from all around the world, from all around Africa. And what that does is we put them together in a room and we just tell them, your job right now, we are paying you good money. Your job right now is to create. And that creative process is amazing. And that's what Coke Studio Africa 2019 is going to do. We're going to take our cameras, our microphones. We're going to put you guys watching from home inside that space where these artists just come together to create and to do all this content. We have collabos. We have a lot of amazing things going on at Coke Studio Africa 2019. And I'm going to have some of those head honchos here with me on stage to try to tell you why you should expect what we are bringing. And among them is Mopao himself, Bwana Arthur K. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
How are you? How's
It's African. Did
Thank
you.
you.
Take this?
Yes,
They need to capture that.
Did you guys take this?
Yeah.
Unapologetically African. That's what.
Unapologetically African. That's what we are, man.
How's the food, by the way? I hear the food is nice.
Yeah, you can see I carried this to the interview.
I haven't eaten, but
Okay.
where's your plate?
Sorry,
I'll
I'm
go.
not giving you this one. I won't feel.
Arthur. But the
I'm
good
sorry.
thing that I know that you're giving us
Yeah.
is amazing content on
Yes.
Coke Studio
Yes.
Africa 2019. Are there a few, because you're the talent manager, are there a few surprise guest artists that you have just hidden in your back pocket?
Yes, and one is arriving tonight. We have a surprise guest artist.
Where can people find out? Is it on Coke Studio's social page?
We haven't revealed him yet, so I can't even talk about it.
So guys, go to the airport. If you're in Nairobi right now, go to JKIA and just
He'll
look
be
out.
landing tonight, yeah.
He'll be
Go to
landing
the
tonight.
airport. If you are a fan of music, I'm sure you love this guy.
Okay, and apart from you've spoken a lot on stage about the kind of work you're doing, but all of this is for the purpose of the people watching and for Africa as a whole. In terms of African music, we're trying to create that modern African sound. Why should people really tune in starting February to Coke Studio Africa 2019? What's that? Like, tell them to, because I've told them like a lot of times. Tell them.
Listen, this is the one season that I can tell you everything is based on research from you guys. We went out, we talked to people like you, we asked, what is it that you want to see on Coke Studio Africa? We listened, we put it into place. That's why I'm saying the artists on this season of Coke Studio Africa are purely and honestly picked by you and for you. So this season is going to be more exciting because we have very young and vibrant artists and not maybe the usual old names that maybe you're used to. So that's the one thing that I am saying repeatedly, because you need to understand that we also listen to what you want and what is it that you want to see on Coke Studio Africa.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm going to say that has never happened is we're going to release the audios before the show. That's an exciting thing. Wow. So you will enjoy these audios before the show so that by the time the show is coming out, man, you guys can actually sing along and go like, oh, that's how that song was made, and it makes more sense to you.
Okay. Okay, amazing. We look forward to that. When is the music coming out? Because I need to put that on my calendar. Because February 2019, it's already on my calendar. Yeah. That's when you start showing. When is the music coming out? Can you tell us?
So hopefully January. Yeah, the first week. Because they are now, most of the songs are under mixing. So once that process is done, we will start releasing them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mapao.
Thank you.
And all the best. Do you have to, the samosa? The food is amazing here at the Sankara, by the way. Sankara is our official hospitality sponsor. All the big names in music that you guys are going to see on Coke Studio Africa 2019, they are staying here in this building. So if you guys want to find out which big star Arthur is bringing tonight, you can either go to the JKIA or you can come to the Sankara and find out. And allow me to call another of our dignified guests here at Coke Studio Africa 2019. Karibu, sir. Good to see you.
I last saw this guy at the Oscars.
Tell them again slowly, because I don't
saw him in the Hollywood.
Yes.
We actually went where the sign. Yes. That's the last place I saw you.
Bwana Mutua took us on a tour of Hollywood. We saw the Hollywood sign. We walked on the boulevard. Nice to see you too, sir.
Congratulations.
Asante sana. And we are here for Coke Studio Africa. Absolutely. What does this mean? Because they've talked about how Nairobi is actually a prime filming location, and I know that falls under your docket and under what you look around for in our industry.
Absolutely.
What do you have to say in terms of Coke Studio Africa choosing Nairobi for this season and even for the seasons to come? What do you have to say about that?
Nairobi is the hub for everything. I mean, we just launched the direct flights to New York. Nairobi is the ICT hub in Africa in terms of internet growth, in terms of digital migration. I think we are the only country in Africa that has fully migrated from analog to digital. And the opportunities that are here are enormous. Our flora and fauna are out of this world. The creativity of our youth. 70% of our youth are below 35. And we are the home of M-Pesa. We are the home of Lupita Nyong'o. We are the home of creativity. We are the country with the fastest high-speed internet in Africa. I think 21st in the world. And if you look at the levels of ICT growth in this country, if you look at the infrastructure, the creativity of our youth, there could have been no better choice.
It's here.
This is the place. This is where things happen. And I think Coca-Cola taking that deliberate decision to make this the headquarter, I think this is amazing. And we really appreciate on behalf of the government. I want to say thank you to Coca-Cola. I want to say thank you for the Coke Studio. I think this is the 6th edition. And now we are pushing towards making our partnership more realistic so that we can take this to the next level. We are very happy with the efforts of the private sector. Like I said, Hollywood was not created by the government. It was created by the private sector. And the moment our people are given opportunity and empowerment, our young people can do amazing stuff. You are one example. I mean, I met in Atlanta. I mean, in California, Los Angeles. I couldn't believe it. And the courtesy of your creativity and the stuff that Andrew was saying, just do your thing. People will notice you. You were noticed.
Yes,
and that's why we traveled.
Yes.
Excellent.
And last question before I let you go. I have this list of a whole host of artists that are going to be on Coke Studio Africa 2019. Yes. I'm going to go through the list. When you hear an artist you would like to do you sing, sir? I've heard you sing.
Yes, I do sing.
Exactly.
I grew up as a worship leader in my church.
Excellent. So
I sing for my family. I'm still the worship leader for my family.
Okay. I'm going to go through a list here. Kenya and Tanzania. When you hear an artist you want to do a collabo with, I will tell my bosses at Coke and they will make it happen. Ezekiel Mutua
will it happen?
Yes, I'll make it happen.
Okay,
is here.
Kwangwaru with the diamond, but I want to do a civilized, saved Kwangwaru. So I like his creativity. I like it. I'm telling you, I'm serious. How I wish we can have people like those with that creativity of Diamond and people like Chameleon, Joseph Chameleon, combining with our South Soul, and we do one Africa Colombo, and then I'll be there. I offer myself.
Featuring.
I am telling you, because we need now to inject values into the things that we sing.
Yes.
Romance is good. I love.
We need some romance in life.
We need some romance in life, but romance does not put food on the table. You need after that to still look at things that inspire hope and creativity, and people to go out there and work hard and eat from the sweat of their brow. That their hands make money and make decent money, and they enjoy wealth that is gotten in the right way, not stolen wealth. I think this is where we need to focus. There's so much great stuff about romance and about love and about heartbreaks and stuff like that. And I want now to encourage people to focus on these other emerging issues that are becoming even more serious with our society.
Okay, so you've heard it here first. Ezekiel Mutua featuring Diamond, Revani, maybe all of them, Kwangwaru, the civilized remix. Asante sana, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Asante sana. Some of this content you can only catch on Coke Studio Africa 2019, and this is just the masterclass. The main season is going to be launching next year, February 2019, and here to tell us even more about why you guys should tune in starting next year is Mr. Oga himself. How are you doing, sir?
Good, how are you doing?
You know me, I'm calling you Oga because Tim calls you Oga.
That's what everyone was calling me today, man. I can confirm I'm Kenyan. I'm not Nigerian. I do not go by the name Oga.
What name do you go by in public, in the public, the public?
Andrew Alovi.
Yes. And Andrew, you basically, what do you do at Coca-Cola?
I do many things. In a nutshell, I look after marketing assets and experiential activation. So basically consumer marketing for Central, East and West Africa.
And what do you have to say about the branded content? Because that's something that struck me because I am a content creator. And Tim said that branded content, that is where you are going. What do you have to say about that? With Coke being one of the biggest branded content creators in the world, what do you have to say about that?
So first, I think I must say I'm very happy and proud that I work for a company as Coca-Cola that sets the trend. You know, Coca-Cola started doing talent searches before everybody else settled on it. And you remember when we did the Coca-Cola Pop Stars over a decade ago, and we brought you people like Sema. So for us, we're happy to constantly be reinventing ourselves. And that's how Coke Studio came to be. And we said, look, we need a music platform that we can use to meaningfully engage with our consumers who love music. And so I'm happy that we are leading the way when it comes to creating branded content. And Coke Studio is not the last. It's just the first of many that we'll do, not only in music, but also in football.
Okay, amazing. Oh, in football as well. That's to come. But February 2019, you've been to the studio, you've seen some of the work happening. Why, in your own words, why should people definitely tune in to Coke Studio Africa 2019?
Well, Coke Studio is a port, and it's a port of many things. Much as we come together to make music, there's a lot that we do on Coke Studio, which is why if it was just about the music, then we could simply be dropping tracks on YouTube and radio. But then the amazing stories. This year, it's all about stories. And the amazing stories that are coming out of this season, there are things you do not want to miss. I mean, people are going to talk about their childhood. People are going to talk about their background. People are going to talk about their bringing. Well, some could fall in love on the show. I guess we just need to tune in and follow the stories.
It's going to be an entire soap opera, telenovela, music show. It's everything in one.
Everything cooked in one. That's why I say this is a pot that is cooking everything that you want to see on your screen.
Which is unapologetically African this year.
Exactly. Completely unapologetically and thoroughly African.
We look forward to the new season. We look forward to all other seasons. Coke Studio Africa 2029 even.
Exactly.
Okay, not just 2019.
I hope by then you'll be singing. Singing well, not just singing.
Okay, that's the. I'll work on it. 10
right,
years
cool.
is enough time to work on it.
Well, yeah, it's a good start.
Aya, asante sana. Have an amazing day. Aya, cool. That's just, I'm telling you, there's so many celebrities, so many professional, industry professionals, so many people making this Coke Studio Africa 2019 production happen. It takes a village, it really does. And with me on stage, do we have another guest? Okay. And I can tell, I want to, is this for me?
No, it's mine.
Are you sure? No one gets Charlie any food. It's unfortunate.
You lose your voice, you need to speak.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Do you want to eat that before?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. You're sure?
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm good. I'm good.
So let me ask you, introduce yourself to the people watching. We are live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Maybe who you are and what you do.
Hello, guys. I'm Joe Brian Jura, known as JB Jura. Founder and creative director at Home 254.
Home 254.
Yeah, official merchandise and apparel for Coke Studio Africa 2019.
Awesome. So you guys create the branded, the branded attire,
T-shirts for Coke Studio.
everything. So my question to you, representing the public, I want a Coke Studio Africa T-shirt or a jacket. How can I get that from you? How can I get?
You have to speak to Oga because he said you can't sell them. Many people have asked for them, but you can't sell because it's branded Coke. So if you want them, you know who to contact.
I have to speak. I have
if you
to.
want our branded stuff like the one I'm wearing, you can contact me.
Okay, Sasa. And one last thing, you've created all the apparel. You've seen some of the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's some food.
The show now. Yeah. The show is going to be late by
It's
the
going to be lit. Last question, Kabsa. Coke Studio Africa, the thing we're trying to show people is it's not just about the music, because while we're doing this production, such a big production, we need the musicians, we need music engineers, but apart from that, we have drivers, we have apparel makers like yourself, we have caterers, we have cinematographers. What do you